Welcome everybody to our Bon Voyage Hot List. This is our new format for talking about upcoming trips we have here at MGA Travel. And we ask some of our valued partners who we use as suppliers or who provide the travel itineraries for those items on our Bon Voyage Hot List. And today I'm very happy to welcome Kathy Kasuma from Atlas Ocean Voyages. Hey, Kathy.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Also on the call is my lovely wife, Kelly Graham, co-founder of the Outlander Society.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Which one of these trips will be that we're going to talk about today. So I see some people are coming online right now. So welcome, everybody. I see some familiar names and some new names as well. So I actually see some people that are on one or two of these trips with us on Atlas. So welcome everybody, and thanks for being here. If you're watching this on a recorded video on our YouTube channel, some of the things may not still be holding true since depending on how long it's been since we recorded it, but some of them are going to be evergreen, and that's like the quality and the service and the type of experience you're going to have on Atlas, right, Kathy?
Absolutely.
So if you want to get started and just tell us a little bit, maybe share your screen or whatever you want to do, and just tell us a little bit, who is Atlas Ocean Voyages and what do you guys do?
Yeah, I'd love to. Hang on just a second. I'll share. Let's see. Here we go. Can you see that?
I can see it.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, yeah, welcome. And Atlas Ocean Voyages is near and dear to my heart. I started with this company a few years ago when we were a baby company and just getting started, but now we have a few years under our belt, which is great. And we are a year-round expedition company, and I've known Michael and Kelly for a long time, and they are true definition of our ideal guests. They're true explorers, love to travel and do something unique and fun. So you've come to the right place if you're looking for a unique experience and something that will be life-changing, I have to say. So I put together just a few slides, and I've incorporated some of my own pictures in this too, because I know we wanted to make this kind of conversational as well. But you know, I've incorporated some pictures from my trip to Antarctica. We're going to talk about a couple of really cool things. So I wanted to introduce first of all to the brand and give you a background of what you can expect from Atlas Ocean Voyages, and talk about what we include in our voyages and in our entire package, and show you a few pictures of our ships, as well as talk about our accommodations. And then we'll get into the polar expeditions, because that's kind of the feature. We're going to talk about the Arctic and Antarctica today specifically, and talk about your exclusive group sailings that you have coming up. So as I mentioned before, Atlas Ocean Voyages is still a young company. We launched our first ship in 2021, and our second ship was launched last November. So we have World Navigator and World Traveler. And we're introducing a third ship, World Voyager, this fall for Antarctica season. So we're super excited about that. Our fourth ship, World Seeker, is currently in the shipyard right now in Portugal. So she'll be joining us in late 24, possibly early 25. And we have two other ships that will follow shortly thereafter. So we're very excited to be able to kind of break into this new market where we kind of combine upscale luxury type experience with more adventurous expedition opportunities. And we've married that into one. And it really truly feels like you're on your own personal yacht. So we really talk about us being intimate yachting expeditions, and we do that throughout the world. So our bread and butter really truly is our polar expeditions that we do a little more than half the year. For our Antarctica season is November through March, but we do go in the summertime, usually late July, early August into September. We do visit the Arctic area, so we visit both poles. And we also incorporate some expeditions in Iceland and Greenland as well. And obviously the Arctic and North Cape is a pretty cool thing. We've got ships there now. But then that leaves the other half of the year, for the most part, available. And we've really come up with a really unique concept called Epicurean expeditions. Because we focus on year-round expedition experiences, we take our ships to the Mediterranean, the Greek Isles, Northern Europe, a little bit in the British Isles, and we wanted to give people a different type of expedition. So we focus highly on our culinary and gastronomic guests that we bring on board. We'll bring on guest sommeliers, visiting vintners and that type of thing, and really package that all around an Epicurean experience. So if you're looking for something different other than the polar regions, Atlas does have that to offer as well. We really focus on 3 different pillars of our company. One, obviously, is the destination focus. We do destination immersions on every single cruise. We also obviously focus on our yachts. So we have very small ships, just under 10,000 tons, less than 200 guests, and it really truly is an intimate yacht experience on board. And we really focus a lot on our personalized service. So you have a near 1-to-1 guest to staff ratio. So you do have that highly attentive service. But what we like to tell people and remind people, unlike some upscale luxury lines, it's not stuffy, it's not overly formal, it is very personalized, but it is also very approachable and friendly, which is what people really fall in love with our brand. So those are our 3 basic pillars of Atlas. And I think the other thing that makes us special and kind of stands out is that we include a lot in our packages and in our journeys. So everything you see on the screen here is actually included. Obviously, we try and include as many things as possible, just like other upscale experiences you have on other cruise lines. But again, more so because it's more of an intimate yacht feel, we want to make sure that you don't have to really worry about anything while you're on board. So of course, all of your unlimited food and beverages are included, including wines and premium craft cocktails. We include gratuities in that as well. We include a complimentary cultural immersion on every single voyage. That obviously varies depending on where we're visiting, but we do that for the entire ship, and we try to make it a unique experience, something that would really kind of immerse you in that destination and be something that you wouldn't necessarily always have the opportunity to do. And then sometimes, because we visit really remote parts of the world, we can bring that destination immersion on board the ship. So it really is kind of a unique thing that we do include in all of our trips as well. On board the ship, of course, we include L'Occitane bath amenities, which are super luxurious. That's included in all the staterooms, as well as our L'Occitane Sea Spa. You have a mini bar that's stocked with your preferences that is restocked every day. We do include emergency medical evacuation insurance in the price of the cruise. Other expedition lines charge additional for that, but that's something that's included for everyone, no matter what itinerary. And I think the 2 really important things to mention for our polar expeditions is that we include private charter jet service, depending on where you're visiting. So if you're joining us in Antarctica, we provide that jet service between Buenos Aires and Ushuaia. Ushuaia is usually the embarkation port for our Antarctica expeditions. We do have a couple of variations on that if you're doing the fly and sail. And then for our Arctic expeditions, we include anytime we touch Longyearbyen, which is in Svalbard in Norway, we include a charter flight. So generally speaking, if you're joining the ship in Longyearbyen, we'll provide a charter flight from Oslo, Norway, to Longyearbyen to join the ship. If you're ending the cruise in Longyearbyen, we'll again include that charter flight back to Oslo. So we try to make that as easy as possible for everyone, and you can see the value in that as well. And then, of course, on all of our polar expeditions, everyone gets a parka to keep and to wear during their Zodiac expeditions with us, but they also can take that home as a memento of their cruise as well. So our ships are all built for the polar regions. We do have, again, small ships, just under 200 guests. We try not to, not that we try not to, but we don't necessarily staff or fill the ships with all the staterooms. They're not always allocated or used for our guests in Antarctica, because we bring on a ton of expedition team members. So we have a smaller amount of guests that will sail with us for the Arctic and the Antarctica expeditions for that purpose. So we max out the ship at about 170, 173 for Antarctica because of that scenario. So it makes it, again, an even more intimate experience on board the ship, and you've got an even larger staff to guest ratio on board. You'll see in the picture here that picture on the top with people all standing right there at the bow of the ship. That's called Water's Edge. It's all the way forward on deck 5. It's probably one of my favorite places on board because it's the best place for scenic cruising. It's only 30 feet above sea level, so it's amazing to go out there and see the penguins, and you can see wildlife from there. I remember pulling into Lemaire's Channel for the first time in Antarctica, and it was just the most spectacular view right there at the bow of the ship. Incredible. So if you're ready to brave the elements, it's a great place to be, especially when you're arriving into a really unique place like that. It's great for viewing wildlife and obviously the ice and the glaciers. But it's also a pretty cool place to go on other itineraries too. But for our colder itineraries, we do have heated benches and warm seats that go all the way around the bow of the ship, which is pretty cool as well.
Yeah, that would be an excellent place to be coming into Kodak Alley, right?
For
with
sure.
The other name for the Luminaire Channel. Yeah, beautiful.
For sure. And I have a couple of pictures here I'll show you from my own personal iPhone. I was very impressed with my iPhone actually during an Antarctica trip as well. But I'll show you that here in a couple minutes. I wanted to show a couple of pictures of World Traveler because I know that the groups that you're looking at are both taking place on World Traveler. You guys are joining me in a couple of weeks in the Arctic, and I'm very excited about that. So if anyone wants to join, we still have some time, so we'll talk a little bit about the Arctic. But it's, again, on our newest ship right now, World Traveler. So this is just one of our main lounges on board. Again, it's not a huge ship, but it's beautiful. It's kind of the, we call this the La Dolce Vita kind of style of our ships. They all kind of carry this unique decorative style on board. But this is the Atlas Lounge. This is one of our main lounges that we have on board. It has a bar there. We have some music there in the evenings. It's a nice gathering spot. And it's pretty much everything takes place on deck 4. If you go a little bit further forward on that same deck, we have the Vasco da Gama Theater. This is where all of our guest lectures will actually present. We also have obviously our safety briefings for expeditions, as well as any of our recaps for the day and what to expect. So people will be filing into this theater pretty much every day on our polar region expeditions, because our expedition team will stand there and basically give you the rundown of what to expect. And because the weather is ever changing, they always like to kind of tell us where we're going to go, what landings they're predicting to do, any Zodiac cruises. We'll talk about the wildlife that you'll see. There's all kinds of really unique things that they'll talk to you, and they'll do that right here in the theater. And then we have our observation lounges up on deck 7, all the way forward. It's located just above the bridge. It's beautiful, 270-degree floor-to-ceiling windows. If you don't want to brave the elements out on Water's Edge all the way forward on the bow, this is another great option to stay warm inside as we're doing scenic cruising. And during the daytime, it's kind of a quiet nook. It's a really great place for views. There's obviously some deck space out there as well. In the evenings, though, we have music in here, and it's a little more lively. There's some entertainment that takes place, but it's a great place to come, and it gets its name. We call it the Dome Lounge, but it gets its name from the little skylight there that you can see in the top. Not the best picture of the dome part, but it's a really beautiful lounge. And then, of course, our main restaurant on World Traveler is Lisboa, but this is where most of the meals will take place. On our warm water itineraries, we have some alfresco dining options, but on cold water, we've got this and a couple of other small venues, but this is really the main place. But we do rotate our menus, and we have a different theme every single evening in terms of the cuisine that's offered. We always have our classics there, of course, but it's really amazing. The service is great, and the food is really outstanding as well. We really pride ourselves on that. And like I mentioned before, we do have some alfresco dining areas on our warm water adventures. But if you're joining us in a polar region, we have this. We've got Paula's Pantry, which is this here, which is kind of a grab and go. It's a smoothie and juice bar. Coffees and specialty teas are here, and they'll have breakfast in the morning, just little grab and go sandwiches throughout the day, snacks and fresh baked cookies, which is great. So this is a great place if you don't want to have a full sit down meal to grab that. Of course, there's 24-hour room service as well. You're never going to go hungry on board, that's for sure. And I wanted to kind of mention a couple of our accommodations and show you some pictures. Our ships are small, so we have actually a total of 10 suites. We have the Navigator, Discovery, and just the Journey suites on board that range in size from 382 up to 465 square feet. All of them are one-bedroom suites with a living room as well, and they have an extended 106 square foot balcony and two entrances, one from the living room side, one from the bedroom side out onto that balcony as well. All of our suites have butler service, and you can request full in-room dining if you'd like. Our Navigator and Journey suites hold up to 3 guests as well. So if you've got a family that might have an extra person that they want to take along, these are definitely the staterooms to take a look at. But most of our guests will either be in a veranda or our Horizon balcony suites that we have available. So the veranda that you see here is your typical stateroom that has an outdoor balcony. So it's a 270 square foot total in terms of the room size, with a 52 square foot balcony. And of course, you get all of the goodies that are included with your room. Of course, the L'Occitane bath amenities that I mentioned, and in all of our stateroom bathrooms, which I love, and it doesn't matter what category on board the ship. We have a marble shower with a rain head, with a handheld shower head, as well as jets in the back. It's not your typical cruise ship type of shower experience.
Doesn't sound like it.
It's super luxurious, of course, and so I really like that. And again, it doesn't matter the stateroom category; they all have the same. Of course, you've got nice ample closet space. Everyone will have slippers and robes. We include a water bottle there that is yours to keep. It's stainless steel. There's different stations in a couple locations throughout the ship that you can refill your water bottle. And of course, the mini bar that's restocked. So that's included on pretty much all of our staterooms as well. But the veranda is our most popular choice because people like to obviously have the sliding glass door and step outside and have their table and chairs. But my personal favorite is actually the Horizon stateroom. And it's all personal preference. It's the same exact size, square footage wise, 270 square feet as your regular veranda stateroom. But instead of an actual physical balcony outside, we've incorporated that balcony space into the living space of the stateroom. So you've got all that extra room that you can utilize. And you have this really cool feature. There's a button by your bed. You just push the button, and anything you see the bar, that black bar across the window there, anything above that black bar just opens. It comes down, and you can actually have a balcony when you want it. And you can close the window when you don't, and it's a floor to ceiling window anytime. It's a really cool, I think, alternative to sitting outdoors on the balcony. Everyone has their own preferences, but we've got both. So we've got the Horizon and the regular veranda staterooms. Same amenities on all the cabins, obviously, and same great bathroom as well. And then we do have a couple of our Adventure Ocean View. It was formerly a C1 category. We've just changed the name of it, but it is a Ocean View stateroom. We only have a handful of these on board the ship on deck 3. And this is, kind of our lead-in price point category that you'll see on a lot of our promotions. But, this is a great alternative, 183 square feet, and it has a picture window there as well. So those are our staterooms. They're really beautiful, and hopefully everyone will really enjoy when they get to visit our ship and sail with us and be very happy. But I wanted to mention a little bit about, because we've got 2 cruises we wanted to talk about today. One was the Arctic and Norwegian fjords coming up. So Michael, you and Kelly are sailing with me, and in the next, actually, we're almost down to a couple weeks,
3 weeks.
Almost, I think, 3 weeks away, right? Excited. So, it's a really cool place. I have not yet been, so this will be my first experience in the Arctic. I'm really looking forward to it. I've been to Norway and different ports, but this will be the furthest north that I'll have been able to experience, and a really cool itinerary as well. But just like in Antarctica, we include all of our fully guided Zodiac experiences, whether it's an ice cruise around just to see in our Zodiacs, or whether it's a landing. So all of those are fully included in our expedition. And you'll note on our itinerary where it says Captain's Choice, those are the days that are expedition days. So on our upcoming cruise, we have 3 of those days, which should be pretty exciting. And we do have one port of call that we're visiting. on this trip as well that has some really cool optional shore excursions that you can take. And in Honingsbog, we've got safari adventures. There's king crab fishing that's on the docket. There's I think a panoramic kind of overview of the area, paddleboarding, and then there's a sauna and an ice bath experience that's pretty traditional in Norway as well. So a lot of different cool adventures that we can have as well when you visit the Arctic. And of course, the wildlife there is a bit different. So polar bear, hopefully, fingers crossed, there'll be some polar bear sightings. Lots of really cool birds. Obviously, there's some seals and Arctic foxes and some caribou. So there'll be some interesting things that we're going to keep our eye out for on those expeditions. But I just put the itinerary up on the screen that we're going to do. So again, on World Traveler, August 6th through the 11th. This is kind of a quickie. This one's a 5-night, but there is a longer 13-night. This is a segment of a longer cruise. But as you can see there, we're actually kind of circling that whole area up in northern Norway, and we'll start off in Longyearbyen in Svalbard. And again, included in this 5-night trip is that charter jet service from Oslo. You have to get yourself to Oslo, and then round trip, or it's one way actually, a service from Oslo to Longyearbyen, and transfers obviously to the ship are included. And we're actually going to do a cultural immersion in Longyearbyen, which is Svalbard area. So that will come to us on the ship. Remember, I mentioned that we go to these tiny little ports of call, and so sometimes we're able to create a really unique experience. So I'm looking forward to experiencing our cultural immersion in Norway. I think it'll be a pretty neat experience on board. And then we have a few days of fully guided expeditions on our Captain's Choice days. We'll have one opportunity to go ashore in Honingsvåg, and then we'll return to Tromsø, which is a quaint little town, I hear. So we'll have a little bit of time there before our way back. But included in that, of course, is our parka. So we give you a big, heavy parka to take home with you. It has a zip-out vest. I didn't even realize that until halfway through my expedition, that you could actually take them apart, which is pretty cool. So you can use that as well. But that is, again, part of the inclusion, and you get to take that home with you as well. So if you're interested in joining us on this trip, make sure to reach out to Michael and Kelly and ask some questions, because we would love to have you. There are some really great promotions going on because it is coming up very soon. So just talk to them about that, and I'm happy to help answer any questions that I can about it if we get some of those.
Well, let me interrupt 1 second. For the people that are on the call, if you do have a question for Kathy or us, just type it in the Q&A box there, or even in the chat, and I will do my best to ask Kathy, or if I know it, I'll answer it for you later on. And of course, if you're watching on the recording, just send an email to michael@mgatravel.com with any questions, and we'll get back to you. So back to you, Kathy.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to kind of shift gears to Antarctica a little bit, because I know that it's a little further out and gives people a little bit more time to plan, but it's also what an incredible experience. And I know you guys are looking forward to hosting your group coming up as well. So that's awesome. But Antarctica really is the bread and butter of what we do. It's where we have our experience. It's what this line was really created with Antarctica in mind when our ships were built, because they're polar class ships. We really did focus on this area of the world, and providing not just an amazing expedition experience, but also an upscale expedition experience, so that people can have a little bit of both. And those who like a little bit of the finer things and really enjoy the service and the amenities on board ships, can't always, sometimes it's, there you go. But sometimes it's a little harder to find that opportunity. So we wanted to make sure that we kind of delivered both. So I think it's an amazing experience, and I wanted to kind of share some of my pictures. So I apologize, I'm not a professional photographer, but I thought it was pretty cool. So, my experience in Antarctica was in early 2022. I'm looking forward to going back, hopefully either the end of this year or early next. But it's round trip Ushuaia, Argentina. So when you fly into this really quaint airport in Ushuaia, and again, you have that charter flight from Buenos Aires down to Ushuaia, it's an amazing experience in itself. You get to tour around and see Ushuaia if you have some time. Usually on the back end of the cruise, on the way back, once you've disembarked the ship, you'll be able to visit the town and really kind of get an idea of what it has to offer. It really kind of depends on your itinerary. In my case, we did it before we boarded the ship. In your case, it'll be on the back end, I believe, before you go back to the airport in Ushuaia. But really beautiful town. We were also blessed with great weather, which is awesome. So you'll see there on the screen our little ship there. We had an amazing experience. That's me walking up the gangway, and my boyfriend and I, when we were getting ready for our lifeboat drill there, because yes, we still practice safety drills. The picture of me there in the green parka is us practicing. So you have to suit up. So when you're crossing the Drake Passage, you've got a couple of days, about 48 hours to cross in order before you actually enter the Antarctic Peninsula area. And so during those days, you'll have safety briefings on the do's and don'ts in Antarctica. There's a lot of rules and regulations there, so you'll learn a lot. We've got our expedition team members that specialize in all different types of areas. We've got marine biologists, we've got ornithologists that study birds, we have geologists that talk about the land, we have historians that will talk about the history of Antarctica, which is pretty fascinating. We'll talk about the weather and what to expect and how to dress and what's coming up. And it's a really pretty cool experience. But during those 2 days, we'll actually fit you for your parkas and we'll fit you for all your safety gear. And you'll go down to what we call our mud room down on deck 3. Right before, that's where you'll go right before your expeditions. You'll gear up and before you board any of the Zodiacs. But during those couple of days at sea to get down there, you'll do a practice run, so you know what to do, so everybody's ready to go. So that's what that looks like. And then before and after, you'll have presentations to kind of get you ready for that.
Do you store your parkas in the mudroom?
We do. So we have lockers, one per stateroom. So you'll have those assigned to you. And we'll also give you these big rubber knee boots that you can wear, and you put those on. You'll want to pack waterproof pants. The name of the game is definitely packing in layers. So we have a packing list on our website, and you guys will have that and can pass that along to your clients as well. But layers is really the name of the game, making sure that you can peel them off or put them back on. But yes, in the mudroom, everyone will have their own lockers. You can kind of see that in the picture behind me. And that's where you keep your parkas and you keep your the boots down there. And then at the end of the trip, then you'll be able to bring your parka home with you.
That's so nice because it frees up so much closet space in the stateroom. Because when I did this, when we went to Antarctica, you had to store all of that in your stateroom, and those are big jackets.
Yeah,
that's a really nice feature.
They're big and puffy. And, you know, we learned how to fold them into like a football size to take them like there is a way to do it as well, because people are saying, oh, I have this big jacket. They actually do fold nicely. You have to really be compact with it, or people carry them home with them as well. But yeah, no, it's great to be able to store them down there. It's Excellent. Great, quick grab and go on your way to, well, after the first couple of times you get ready and geared up to go on your expedition. First, you're kind of nervous, like, did I get everything? Do I have everything? But then after that, it's just second nature and routine.
Hey, Kathy.
So, yeah.
We had a quick question from Diane Crescent, asked about, we know that you give us the parka to keep. What about boots in Antarctica, she says?
So we give you the rubber knee boots to use while on board. You don't want to keep those because they're big and heavy and they're not pretty. But those you can use anytime you disembark the ship or on one of our Zodiac expeditions, whether it's an ice cruise just around or whether you're actually landing. That's part of the normal gear, but you'll leave those on board, and we have a range of different sizes. In terms of what to wear on board, footwear to wear, I mean, I kept it comfy. People were wearing, people could wear their own boots, and then you just take those off and put the knee boots on. Other people are wearing tennis shoes or whatever's most comfortable in that type of climate. Typically, the weather is anywhere from, let's say, 27 to about 40 degrees Fahrenheit in Antarctica, depending on the weather. The average being somewhere in the middle, usually right in the 35 range. for the most part. When I was there, we were blessed. We had really, really great weather. It did snow a couple of times, just flurries, so it was pretty cool to see. But and the time of year that your group is scheduled is going to be amazing as well, because that was the same time of year I was there, right in the middle, right toward the end of the birthing season, when you see a lot of small penguins and seals if you're lucky, and it's not super, super cold, so it's a little more navigable. So it's a great time of year to go in late January, early Feb.
I agree. Last time Kelly and I went was in late November, early December, and it's totally different what you're going to see in terms of, especially the juveniles and the wildlife. And
we just saw eggs.
And it's the same. I mean, we had one day that was like icy and cold and everything you might think about Antarctica, and then another day I was, taking off a lot of those layers because it was so warm out.
Yeah. And depending on what you do. So there's a lot of different landings that we had. And, I think naively in the beginning, I kind of thought, well, is there going to be a lot of differences in the different areas that we visit? I thought, once you've seen ice and penguins, it's just going to be more ice and penguins. And it couldn't have been further from reality. It really was so different. Every single landing and every single stop we made was so different. I mean, Deception Island in itself is covered in ash and looks like you're walking on, a different planet almost. So there's no snow really visible there, and it's a volcanic crater. Really cool. Elephant Island, when we had, all of the elephant seals there, it's just a different landscape. There is green in Antarctica, which is surprising to a lot of people. There's some really cool stuff. So it was really an incredible experience, and something that was unique. So I'm so glad that I didn't skip out on any of the opportunities to do any of the Zodiac expeditions, because they were all truly unique. And I am proud to say that all of the pictures that you see on your screen right now came from my iPhone. Yes, indeed. I am, again, not a photographer, but I love the one of the penguin jumping out of the water. For that picture, I probably have about 100 of just water. But I was trying to get him, and his little mouth is open. So I was so proud of that one.
That looks great.
But yeah, just the amount of wildlife that you see. And again, you'll be told by the expedition team what the rules are. You can't approach the wildlife, but they can approach you. You have to stay at all times at least 15 feet away. You'll learn about things like penguin highways and what to look out for. And if they come and start approaching you, you're supposed to stop in your tracks and just let them mosey on about and do their thing, because we're in their environment. So it's a pretty cool experience, but it really is unique, and you do get to see them up close and personal. I think one of the things that I didn't think about until I was there was that the sounds there are something that you really want to take in, to just stop and listen. Not only are there's some unique sounds coming from penguins themselves and some of the elephant seals that can make you laugh, but just the ice calving into the water, and it's just a really serene, beautiful place to experience, and it really does touch all your senses for sure. This is us coming into the Lemaire Channel. You can see the bow of the ship there, and it's always kind of foggy and has that look about it for the most part, because that is an area where the warmer water actually meets the colder water in Antarctica. So it can be a unique place. Depending on the weather and visibility, you're not always able to get all the way in to that channel as well. So we were very lucky in this opportunity. But just some of the, there is no such thing as a bad view in Antarctica. Anywhere you go on the ship, whether you're in your stateroom, whether you're out on deck, you're going to be surrounded by beautiful views of whether it's icebergs and glaciers and, just amazing picturesque moments. Penguins and seals can be right around the corner at any moment, which is awesome. The picture there over on the the right-hand side is our Zodiac floating area, because a lot of people say, well, how do you get into the Zodiacs? It's similar to boarding a tender on a regular cruise ship. You just walk down a small flight of stairs. You always have an expedition team member on each side to help you get into the Zodiacs, and of course, out of the Zodiacs if you're doing a landing. And then that's what it looks like kind of riding in the Zodiac there. You hold on and you just really take it all in. Let's see. Here's some more pictures of just ice and our ship, and it's really fascinating how beautiful the hues are. And they say that it's, even though you might want some beautiful sunshiny weather, you don't actually get to appreciate all the deep blue hues that there are in the ice if that's the case. So a little bit of overcast isn't a bad thing. That's a picture of my boyfriend doing the polar plunge. He's crazy. And, I think most people do that. I think me and two little old ladies are the only two that didn't do it on the ship.
I will not be doing that.
I did it last time, so I think I'm good.
You're good. You've been there, done that, right? A pretty cool experience. We actually have our Zodiac's position, or a Zodiac, with our professional photographer from our expedition team. We don't have a photographer on board that takes pictures like a traditional cruise ship would, but we do have an expert photographer as part of our Antarctica expedition team. And they're positioned in a Zodiac so that they can get pictures of people as they're jumping into the water. And then we do provide those for them after the cruise as well.
Very nice.
For those who brave it. And you do actually get a shot of Sherry when you come back on the ship if you want it, or two if you're really cold. And we'll have towels there waiting for you and all of that good stuff. But again, our Zodiacs, we have kayaks as well. So for Antarctica, it's not valid for the Arctic, but for Antarctica, we have kayak tours, both tandem, two-person kayaks, and as well as single kayaks, and paddleboard, stand-up paddleboarding as optional excursions, in addition to camping on the ice. So those are things that you can tack on, optional. For your cruise, they do fill up. So if you're interested in that, you definitely want to put your name on that tour list. We do collect names or a wait list in advance and send those to the ship. So you want to make sure that you get that request in advance. We don't do kayaking and paddleboarding in the Arctic from our ship unless you're in a specific port of call that offers that, because there are polar bears in the region, and people don't always think about that, but there are safety reasons that we don't do it off the ship like we do in Antarctica. A little bit different scenario.
Just to clarify, there are no polar bears in Antarctica.
Correct. Whales and penguins and tons of different birds and seals.
And there's all types. It's not just penguins, right? I mean, you've got Adelie penguins and chin straps and emperors.
Gentoo, yep. So if you're going all the way out to South Georgia and the Sandwich Islands, that's where your king and emperor penguins that you might remember, like from Happy Feet, the movie, they get up to 3 and 4 feet tall. They're found there, only there. But in Antarctica, in the peninsula itself, you're going to see a lot of gentoos. You're going to see a lot of chin strap penguins, and you'll note those because they look like they're wearing a little helmet with a chin strap on. Some rock hoppers that you'll see. There's a lot of different types of penguins there, but those are the two main kind of gentoos, and the chin straps are most common. But here's another example of things that you could see at Antarctica. This is Base Brown at Paradise Harbor. So this is super cool. So we did a landing here. We actually climbed up. There is a staircase there. When you see that small building there that's been abandoned, but there is a staircase there that takes you up. And by the way, our expedition team goes out and they make sure that everything's safe first before they bring anyone out. They will actually bring sometimes cones there so they can designate the areas that are safe for you to walk. They'll have expedition team members stationed throughout so that you know where you can go, and also for people to give you information and tell you a little bit about what you're looking at and what to look out for. They'll go and eye some different types of wildlife and point that out to you. But in this particular location, we actually hiked up and hiked all. It's a choice. You can do as little or as much as you want to do, but we hiked up the side of the mountain there and we slid down on our bottoms all the way back, which is pretty cool experience. Itself is a little bit like being a kid again, but it was an awesome experience. That picture of the ship there was taken from the top of that mountain that you see on the other side. So pretty cool. And then we slid all the way down and then ventured back to the ship. So just like to give people an idea of the different types of things that you'll see when you're in Antarctica. You know, we saw an old Norwegian whaling ship and got right up close and personal, actually took our Zodiac right over the top of it just to see it. Really cool experience there. Our kayakers and our paddleboarders were out there. You know, some really cool things at Enterprise Island and the Melchior Islands. I just think it's a really neat opportunity. And this was, all of these pictures were taken in our ice cruises where we didn't actually land, but we went around for the afternoon for about an hour, sometimes a little more. It all depends on the weather, and learned about the area, get up close and personal, got to see some additional fur seals and different types of wildlife.
Yeah, I think you're talking about when you still get on the Zodiac, you just don't make a landing that day, but you get
Correct.
to go, and those Zodiacs are quite versatile in places they can go and get to.
Absolutely.
And you got a naturalist generally is your driver, and he or she's able to tell you, what you're looking at and kind of interpret it for you.
Exactly. And it's having like your own little personal, well, it is your own personal guide to take you around to show you different unique things. And I think the thing that's most awesome about it is that, depending on the weather, you never know where you're going to wind up, not even just the same day, but then that afternoon. So no two Antarctica cruises are ever alike.
Well, and I thought that was so interesting about the naturalists that come on year after year after year, because they share that same sentiment. Every single day in Antarctica is a completely different day, and it's a completely different experience.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it truly is. And they have so many stories. And then there's typical places that they try to land, and different places that are ideal. But yeah, you're right. Every single experience is different, and it's all based on the weather and the wildlife. When we say captain's choice, it truly is the captain's choice, and our captain is in communication with all of the other ships and boats in the area, not just for safety purposes. Of course, that's their first order of business there is to make sure it's safe, but also for wildlife and what they've seen, and they share information so that people can go in and take advantage of seeing some really cool things. These pictures, Pendulum Cove and Deception Island, and then Elephant Point was amazing. But the kind of black sand beach that you see there, that is part of one big, large volcanic crater, Deception Island, which is pretty cool. You're expecting to step off onto ice-covered land and walk around, and there's not a bit of ice there. That's all covered in volcanic ash. Pretty cool experience and hiking around. There's a former Chilean research center that's burned down there. That was kind of interesting to see the remnants of that. And on Deception Island, there was not a whole lot of wildlife there. We saw a couple of fur seals there that you have the picture there by the ship, but you really felt like maybe you were on Mars or walking on the moon or something. It was a pretty cool experience to see that. And then there is some green there. And of course, Elephant Point was a highlight because we had so many encounters with elephant seals and penguins, and the sounds, and just some really awesome things to see and experience that you wouldn't normally think about, I think, before you're going to Antarctica. So I love to share it. I think it's a really awesome experience. I know they're not professional photos, but I just like to share them so people can see what type of things they can expect to see on their trip.
Absolutely.
So our expedition team, as I mentioned before, this is a busy slide, so I won't read it all to you, but we definitely do our research. We make sure that we have, the most professionals there with a ton of experience. And we do pride ourselves on putting together a team that has a varied background. People that talk about the history of Antarctica. People can talk about the weather and what to expect, the wildlife, from the ecology and the geology of the land. On top of our kayak guides that we bring along, and people who are there who specialize in hiking. It really does make or break your experience. And when you have a professional team that works together, you have all these different points of view and some really cool experiences when you're there.
I just had a question actually came in about that, and I can answer sort of, and that is, they want to know, do these naturalists and professionals, do they do any lectures on board?
Absolutely. They do them pretty much every day. So for the 2 days when you're traveling when you're crossing the Drake, 2 days at sea, there'll be a full program throughout those 2 days of, there'll be some mandatory safety briefings that you have to attend, and then there'll be optional presentations throughout the time as well that will talk again about the different types of birds that you'll see. We'll have a photographer there that will do a workshop on how to take the best pictures, even with your phone, in terms of, people don't think about that sometimes. If it's a lot of light and white on white with a lot of the ice and the settings that you should use. And they'll kind of give you tips and tricks on how to take the best pictures and capture the best memories. We'll have talks about the history and Shackleton and what you can expect in Antarctica. We'll have people that will talk about whales and when to best see those, and the different types of penguins that are there, and krill, and how there's a whole presentation on krill and how that really is the life form that keeps everything alive in Antarctica, and really cool things. They will talk about global warming. They will talk about the environment. We'll talk about what to expect when you're there, and stewardship and how you can help protect the environment as well. So there'll be all types of different presentations on board, besides the mandatory ones with the safety briefings that you'll have to have, obviously, if you want to go ashore. But they'll also have a whole host of different things throughout. And then every single day on expedition days, there will be a recap of what you did, where we visited, and things that everyone saw, and then our kind of a what's to come and what to expect for the next day. So we'll talk about the weather, what the captain sees and what the expedition team leader sees for the next day. Are we going to stick to the set itinerary? Do we need to deviate? I'd say 95% of the time you're going to go to a different location depending on weather and what they've seen from the very first day. And they'll kind of talk about what to expect. They'll talk about, if it's going to be windy, if it's going to be cold, if it's going to be warmer, and all of those types of things. So you'll be in that presentation area in our main show lounge there. You'll be there quite often learning about Antarctica, and it really truly is an immersive experience. And whether you're going to learn all kinds of things that you didn't think that you'd ever learn, or you'll see some really cool things that maybe you didn't expect to see. But yes, we will make sure that you have a ton of different opportunities and lots of different lectures throughout the voyage.
And I would add, and I'm sure it's the same with Atlas, it's such a small ship and it's so intimate. You will also have times that you can interact on board or over a cocktail or, with these experts and naturalists, and that just adds a whole other, aspect.
Yeah, we've got anywhere from 16 to 18 expedition team leaders in Antarctica, or expedition team members. And so they're all throughout the ship at all times. So you can have lunch and dinner with them. You can grab a drink with them in the evening, stop them in the hallway. You'll see them all over the place, and hopefully you'll get different people leading the expeditions in your zodiacs every time and get a different perspective. And again, people can kind of enhance your experience by their area of expertise in different places as well. So they really do make the trip and make it really something unique and special. But on the screen, I put up your specific Crossing the Antarctic Circle, the 13-9 round trip Ushuaia cruise on World Traveler. So this is the MGA travel special that you guys have put together and have done an amazing job kind of packaging everything together for your clients. And it's really going to be a unique and amazing trip. Most of ours, just so people know, are not this detailed. Most of our trips are 9 nights. We do have some 11 nights, but this 13-night round trip is super popular, and it really is the way to basically get the best of Antarctica, really, on this trip, because you do cross the Antarctic Circle. You get the certificate that says so. Really pretty neat thing. And included in your package, you have a 2-night pre-cruise hotel in Buenos Aires that includes transfer, city tour, and exclusive dinner. Again, that chartered jet service from Buenos Aires down to Ushuaia, and then back on the return from Ushuaia back to Buenos Aires, and that cultural immersion in Tierra del Fuego in Argentina as well. So really amazing trip, and exclusive pricing just for you guys, which is awesome. So I'm very happy to say that, I've known Michael and Kelly a very long time, and look forward to you being able to bring groups of people down to have an incredible experience. And if there's anybody who's listening who is interested in going, just today, I figured I would announce it. I'm happy to add on and tack on an additional shipboard credit. for anyone who books with you guys between now and the end of July. So if anyone books with you in the next couple of weeks, I'll tack on another $200 per person on top of what you're already offering. So
that's great. And so, so what, since it's mostly all inclusive, tell us what sort of things you could use an onboard credit for.
So it is a little tricky. You can use that for additional shore excursions, like if you wanted to do the paddle boarding or the kayaking or the camping on the ice, you can do that, but you have to book that on board. You can use it toward the spa. So your spa treatments, we have a really beautiful L'Occitane sponsored spa. It's called our Sea Spa. You can do facials and massages there, and they have a relaxation room and a sauna as well. So it's really nice. And then there's internet on board as well. We do include an introductory package, but if you want to stay connected, and again, it's a 13-night voyage, you can upgrade that as well. So you can utilize that toward those services on board. And if you want, we do include wines and your cocktails, but if there are some premium level, a specific type of liquor or some premium wines that are not included on the inclusion list, you can apply that toward a nice bottle of wine or spirits as well.
Right. And I should say the dates shown here, January 24th, 4th through the 6th of February, are the dates of the 13-night cruise.
Right.
So if you're going to join us, we're going to leave the US on the 21st and land in Buenos Aires on the 22nd. And then we're going to have airport transfers pick us up. We've got our own group hotel and some tours and dinners and drinks and everything. And that's for 2 nights. And then on the 24th, that's when we'll take the included charter flight down to Ushuaia, which is Fin del Mundo, end of the world. It really is. And so it's an overall 15-night trip for us. And then coming back, I mean, you didn't even touch on it, but Tierra del Fuego is a really cool place. It's part of Patagonia. It's built on this type of peat moss and ancient trees, and it's a really cool place to see in and of itself. So Kelly and I have both been to 88 countries on all 7 continents and so many cities, and people are always blown away because they're like, where's your favorite place to go? And you're like, okay, I don't have one. I love to travel, so like new places, but if they press me, I'm always going to say Antarctica. And it's just like a whole other world. I mean, it's like a different planet. It's not all ice and snow like you might imagine. And it's also go ahead, Kelly.
It took Michael 10 years to convince me to go to Antarctica because I was so afraid of the cold, and I was so wrong. And I regret that it took me so long to do so. What Kathy spoke of as far as layers and them, the naturalists and the guides on board telling you how to dress, plus that fabulous parka that of course I don't want to buy because I live in South Carolina and it's 98 degrees today. But to use there, it's the perfect thing to keep you warm. And, you're not going out and spending 12 hours at a time out in the elements. That most of the excursions are an hour or so. So you get a break, come back in, get warm. But everything that she talked about, the colors, the sounds, I would even say, I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry.
Well, I would say like the Antarctic Treaty is just an example of how, as a world, we can work together on a part of the world that's not really a territory of any particular country. And I'm sure it's touched upon in the lectures, but I mean, it's just amazing. And it's so well taken care of and preserved as a World Heritage Site. It really is.
And not just any ship can sail to Antarctica. You have to be, there are large cruise ships that can do what I call drive-bys. They just kind of float by and say, oh, there's Antarctica over there. That doesn't count to me. I think it's really, truly the expedition ships that are built for it, that have the permissions and that belong to IATO, that are able to go and experience it. And a lot of that will be discussed on board and what you can and can't do. I mean, it's a protected area, just like a lot of other unique places with wildlife in the world. There are do's and don'ts of what you can and can't do. And I found that fascinating to learn about all of these different ways that just tiny little things that we can do and or not do when you go ashore. For example, you just can't bring anything ashore with you. You know, they have to approve everything that you take with you to go ashore and to come back. And you'll walk through these machines that clean your boots when you go through coming off the ship and then coming back on the ship, because just like taking things ashore, you can't bring anything from shoreside back with you. You can't take rocks and things that you know, belong to Antarctica. You can't, you know, bring that back with you, and they want to make sure that they're protecting the environment as much as possible, which is pretty neat.
Exactly. The ships, in order to make landings, they have to be have a special kind of fuel just in case they were to spill fuel that wouldn't harm the environment, and a whole slew of them. Not to mention they have to be very small because only a certain amount of people are allowed on land at any one time.
That's correct. That's why you're not going to see other ships around. You might pass them or see them in the distance, but you're not going to see other expedition ships that are landing at the same time as you. There are some ships there. You know, Antarctica is an interesting place, and I think Atlas is at an advantage because we have fewer than 200 guests. We're able to do 2 landings a day. There are some cruise lines that can only do 1 landing a day because you can only have 100 people shoreside at one time. And that's why these larger ships that go, some of them can't do any landings at all. Some of the larger ones can do 1 a day, and they can do ice cruises, but they can't physically land. We can actually do 2 landings depending on the weather.
Yes. And it will change your life. It is the most amazing destination I've ever encountered. So we have a whole package together. You can go to tripswithme.com. It has a list of all these Bon Voyage Hot List trips, but look for the Antarctica trip from Atlas. You can click on that, and it will go and give you all the details and the pricing and the specials and what's not on there. Kathy just said she would offer extra onboard credit. We will offer $2,000 per person discount off of our prices you see on our website. It's a tremendous value when you think about all the inclusions of the cruise itself and all the inclusions of the tour. Plus, Kelly and I are hosting it. It's one of our Outlander trips. And I should mention there's 2 rules to going on an Outlander trip that you have to follow in order to become an Outlander. But it's pretty easy. Number 1, Kelly.
No grumpy travelers.
And number 2 is
no talking about politics whilst on holiday.
That's right. So
awesome.
We leave all that out. We're going to the polls, but we're not going to be polarized. So we're not going to be talking about that kind of stuff. We're going to be talking about the destination and how amazing it is. I hope you can join us for that. Kelly and I have also been to northern Norway, like Tromsø and Kirkenes and Lapland and those areas, and we couldn't get up to Svalbard and Longyearbyen at that time. But I'm really looking forward to going with Kathy, and I hope you guys can join us on this one. It's a little bit shorter, it's a little bit closer, but it's going to be amazing, and hopefully we'll still see a polar bear from a distance.
Fingers crossed! I can't wait. Yeah, from a good distance.
And look what just came. We got our final docs yesterday. Yay! For this trip. So
awesome.
We're looking forward to it. We had one last question. I don't think we have time for discussion, but someone asked, do you go to Iceland? Do you go to the Greek Isles?
Yes and yes. So we do Iceland and Greenland. We do that every summer. And then the Greek Isles, we have a lot of different opportunities there on a couple of different ships.
Okay. So Eileen, you had asked about that. So we're not going to go over it in depth, but you want some links, or just shoot me an email or come in and tell me what information you want. And if I don't know, I'll call Kathy and she knows. Actually, Vice President of Sales, you've been so kind to join us today. And is there anything else?
Information?
Yeah, there's so much information. If you had to pick like a direct competitor, people ask, what would you say and what would be kind of the differences?
So I think we're kind of in a unique place. I know I'm biased, and I'd like to say that we're in a category of one of our own. But I think it really kind of depends on what you look at. So we're right in the middle. So I think we're in a really good position. So you've got your typical luxury lines. You've got your Silver Sea, your Seabourn, your Regent that also visits this area, Ponant, which is also another, or Scenic. Those are very high-end, upscale luxury cruise lines that specialize in luxury, and they sail all over the world. And I like to say they dabble in expedition. They might have a couple of ships they devote to expedition, during a certain time of the year. Then you've got your expedition lines who are truly expedition companies that's what they do day in and day out. You've got your, Quark Expeditions and Lindblad and some of the others that will, again, focus on the polar regions as a big chunk of what they do, or if not all of what they do. But their experience on board is not necessarily an upscale one. They can have, decent, I never want to talk badly about any product because I think there's something for everybody. But on board, they're not all inclusive, and they don't necessarily have the service and the food and that type of thing to the scale of the luxury lines. The luxury lines don't specialize in expedition year round. We're right there in the middle. So we are an expedition company, but we are an upscale company. So we do both. We want people to have that really unique expedition experience and really be immersed in that, learn about the different destinations and the wildlife, and have those really cool experiences in our Zodiacs. But we also want them to come back on board and be pampered. We want them to have great service and great food and really enjoy their luxury experience on board the ship. So we're right there in that sweet spot in the middle. We're actually priced fair too. So if you take a look at the pricing, we're, most categories in the luxury line are priced a very larger per diem, higher than us. And then our expedition are kind of on par. We're right there in the middle where we want to be. Although we're doing really well and we're gaining popularity. Again, we're a new baby line. We just launched officially, started sailing in 2021. We've been in, around for a couple of years prior to that promoting. But, once we kind of get more well known, which is happening now, you're going to see our prices creep up a little bit into that luxury space as well. So.
You absolutely, the prices that you guys charge for the inclusions and the quality and the level of the experience is at a very nice price right now. I know even the one that we're talking about, Northern Norway, you get the second passenger free right now. So, but what a tremendous deal. So
absolutely. Yeah, we have a really great value proposition, and I think we'll always have that. I think that's the idea, is that we're always planning to keep that. I think, but as we gain popularity and we build more ships, and we will be sailing to different destinations too. We'll always have a big chunk of our focus on Antarctica and the Arctic, but we will be venturing out to different destinations too.
Well, that's awesome. Kathy, thank you so very much for being with us today. Always a pleasure to see you, and we get to see you in person in just like not even 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Exciting.
Very exciting. And I know we're going to see polar bears. I hope some of our friends will want to join us. We already have a lot joining us for Antarctica. There is a little bit room for some more. So reach out. We'd love for you to go with us. And for all of our people watching and listening, thanks for joining us on our Bon Voyage Hot List. Again, you can always go to Trips with me to find out more. And good to see everybody. Thank you very much. Bye, guys.
Thank you.